Gold Black Live, we're here. We've been discussing, what have we been discussing? 80s
Washing machines. And
washing machines.
Heavy metal bands.
And 80s heavy metal bands. This is Gold and Black Live. We're glad you're here, but we want to thank our sponsors, and that being Triple X on the Hill, but on the level, the Purdue tradition that is, since 1929. And Hilton Garden Inn, which tomorrow's a big day, State HGI tonight. We were talking about Brett Michelson. Is that poison?
Poison.
I think he may be staying at the Hilton Garden Inn. We'll have to ask Tara about that. And State Farm agent Trent Johnson. Trent would be in the wheelhouse of going to those concerts as well. So we are here to talk Purdue sports, all things Purdue sports, mostly Purdue football and basketball. But we also will have special guests today also and we'll be talking sports psychology, so we're looking forward to that as well at 2:30. But Tom, you'll be loading up the wagon here in about 15 minutes and heading up to beautiful Madtown. Been a tough place for Purdue for a long time, going back to 2003. But I guess my first question for you is, what do you sense, what's the frame of mind of this football team heading up there and facing what will be a very difficult game?
Well, first I'll be listening to the Hair Nation Sirius
Yes,
satellite station on my way up, listening to
You
some rap.
got it.
But you know what? It's a tall challenge, Alan. We all know that. Purdue's what, a 23-point underdog?
Correct.
I
At
feel
least,
like
right?
I've got all these negative statistics memorized. Purdue's lost 13 in a row to Wisconsin. The last win in 2003. I could go on and on, but I know fans don't want the sordid history of this series of late. Again, the challenges are big. Purdue's got to find some way, to manufacture a ground game. It sounds like we're a broken record each
Yeah.
week, but more so this week than ever before because, like Jeff Brom said after practice yesterday, Wisconsin limits your possessions. They control the ball. So Purdue may not have the ball too often. So again, they got to find a way to keep it away from Jonathan Taylor in that offense. Of course, it gets down to making some big plays for Purdue. You got to score on big plays. And I think to win a game like this, you're going to need multiple turnovers. And what I like to call scoring the unconventional touchdown, maybe the pick six, scoop and score, or maybe a special teams touchdown. If Purdue can get some cocktail that includes a mix of those things, sort of like what Illinois did earlier this year, maybe they have a chance to spring the big upset.
Brian, we talked 2 years ago in the game that 17-9 in Madison, and we talked off air about it was Garrett Hudson's blocked kick and Race Johnson, who watches our show, and he pulled a hammy on the way to the end zone, or he might have scored and Purdue might have made that a closer game. But that game also, Wisconsin, Derek Barnes gets fooled, I think, on the first play, and they go about 60, 70 yards. It's just a challenge playing there. I mean, and I think that's from a long-term perspective. Any secrets that Purdue's got to be able to uncover to be able to get this done?
I just think in a game like this, you have to make big plays. You have to steal a touchdown or two here and there. I mean, I kind of liken the situation more so than the game to them going up to Iowa in 2017.
Yeah.
In a similar situation where they have to win every game they play the rest of the way to get to a bowl game. And I don't think success is necessarily defined anymore by playing in a lower-rung bowl game. But Iowa is a little bit similar to Wisconsin in the sense that it's generally low possession football. When you are able to make big plays, you don't have to obviously work as hard for your offense. That's why Purdue had success against Iowa, is they were able to throw the ball over their heads and catch it and score.
Yeah,
obviously.
Anthony Mahungu.
Yeah, precisely. Wisconsin's going to be a little bit of a different animal, obviously, but I think generally that remains true. I think they have to not let Jonathan Taylor go for 300 yards, and they just have to make big plays because I don't know if this is a defense where you're going to be able to sustain drives. I don't think this is an offense built necessarily to sustain drives. I think you have to make a couple big plays one way or another.
And Tom, in terms of Wisconsin, last week struggled against Nebraska, giving up, I think, almost 500 yards. But this has been a pretty salty defense. A couple linebackers can cause pressure. That's my concern is, can you keep Aiden O'Connell upright consistently if you can't run the football? And Purdue struggled all year in that department. That's going to be a huge challenge.
Yeah,
well.
the offensive line has played better of late,
no
Alan.
question.
They've sort of settled on six guys with Will Bramble, and Eric Miller sort of sharing that right tackle spot. The line has played better, and Jeff Brom talked about Aiden O'Connell yesterday. He's always impressed with his poise in the pocket, his cool under pressure. One thing Aiden O'Connell is not, it's a real good athlete. He says everybody around Aiden's got to play well. They got to make plays. They got to block for him. If that happens, he can have success. Jeff also pointed out that the offenses, the quarterbacks that have given Wisconsin the most trouble are quarterbacks and offenses that are athletic, like Adrian Martinez, like Justin Fields at Ohio State. Of course, that's not O'Connell's strength. Tucking and running, doing the RPOs. So, again, this offense really isn't set up to take advantage of what Wisconsin's been vulnerable to. So, again, like you said, the challenges are big, but if they can protect O'Connell, Brian talked about throwing the ball over the head, striking for some big plays. Like I said, maybe they can make this thing close and spring the upset.
Yeah, Wisconsin's had a little bit of, Martinez only threw 23 times last week, I think it was, but had some success. And, of course, Dedrick Mills ran for almost 190 yards on him, too, and for the Nebraska. But, yeah, Purdue hasn't had that kind of production in the backfield, certainly. All right, Brian, and, we talked about the fact that with 2 weeks left in the season, it's been an ongoing, and Tom's been having to ask the question every week about the litany of injuries. But Rondale Moore, Lorenzo Neal don't appear to be playing this week, and none of us know whether they will play next week or whether Rondale Moore would play. But put that into any level of perspective in terms of Moore. If you're Moore, do you play in the bucket game? Is there a reason to do that? How do you think? If you were him, how would you look at that? That's a wonderfully unfair
I'm
question.
actually the polar opposite of him, so I don't think I'm qualified to put myself between his ears and kind of relate to the situation he's in. I don't know. I know he likes football. I'm sure he enjoys competing. The whole diminishing returns element to this is real. If we're looking at this from an NFL stock perspective, he can't leave now, so it's not like he would be risking his draft stock now. I don't know if he's ever been hurt before in his career, so you never know how someone is going to respond to injury. I don't know where he is in his recovery. I really don't know anything. So I'm just talking here. As for Lorenzo Neal, I don't know. But I will also tell you too, if somebody was going to play Thursday, I don't know if the coach is going to advertise that either, because there is the competitive element to that as well. Not that Wisconsin not knowing on Friday or whatever it may be that a certain guy is or is not playing is going to swing this game or anything like that, but that is kind of the gamesmanship involved and sort of the absurdity of us asking the same question every week. We have to, but there is that element of it too. But it would certainly help Purdue to get one or both of those guys back, but I'm kind of taking a wait and see sort of approach to it, because until we have reason to expect them to play, then my general assumption would be Purdue is going to go the majority of the season without its four most important players.
And Tom, I know you asked Jeff Brom on Monday about the NFL injury chart or injury list and how it would be, because it gets kind of old on Thursday of having to, hey coach, here's my 7 guys I'm going to ask you about again. Can you answer? And it's almost rhetorical in nature, but don't think we're getting any closer to that injury list.
He's all for it, though. He would love to see it happen, and I agree with him. If I was a coach, I would not want to be bothered with the persistent queries on injuries and providing updates. The NFL report, I'm not an expert on it, but it seems pretty cut and dry and clear to me. You have different status levels of players, out, probable, I'm not sure what all the different categories are, but again, it sort of gives you a template. It would give coaches a template to slot players in, and people would know what different definitions met, and just be a lot more of a cleaner system to deal with injuries on a weekly basis. But I will say this, Alan, there are quite a few players fighting through a lot of injuries this year, continuing to play, like Jackson Anthrop, I know. David Bell's another one. And Anthony Watts up front at defensive tackle. So while Purdue's got a lot of guys out, they do have a lot of guys that have been gutting it out and grinding through some injuries.
You know, and I'll ask both of you this question in terms of the last two games. Now, it's unlikely because Purdue's a 24-point underdog. They haven't won a game on the road. I think we were looking at it since 1974, being that big of an underdog on the road against Notre Dame back in the day. But so it would be a pretty monumental upset. But what defines? This is an open-ended question, but you can ponder for the next 10 seconds before I ask it. What defines? Okay, what does Purdue need to get done in the last 2 weeks to put itself in a good position for 2020 or spring ball in 2020?
I think you just need to do enough to feel like to credibly feel coming out of the season like you made the best of a bad situation. Because, I mean, as I said before, Purdue doesn't have its four most important players.
Yeah.
Its two most important players on offense, its two most important players on defense. And those limitations on their own are pretty significant. But what those limitations also did was totally took away your ability to cover up your existing weaknesses as well. Purdue just, the deck could not have been more stacked against it. This is not the team it prepared to have this season. This is not the team oftentimes it prepared to have every week. When you look at the TCU and Minnesota games, things changed on the fly.
Right.
I just think you need something to feel good about, and I think the last 2 weeks you've gotten a lot of stuff to feel good about without that actually having been an overwhelmingly positive deal, because those were two really close games still. Neither a flawless performance, but the fact you found a way to win those games speaks to the fact that this team kept competing even in the face of all this crap that's been thrown its way. I just think if you exit this season, no matter what the win total is, no matter whether or not you make a bowl game, whatever it may be, where you can credibly say, hey, we did okay here under impossible circumstances. I think that's probably how you define success, however you want to define it, I guess.
You think about, again, the fact this team has won 2 games in a row with backup quarterbacks. The fact this team is still even fighting for a bowl berth this deep into November with a walk-on quarterback and a walk-on center, without maybe the best player in the Big Ten, one of the best players in college football, Rondale Moore. It's pretty remarkable, Alan.
Yeah.
They've kept this train on track, and then it could have very easily crumbled. And I think it's hard to keep everybody buying in, 80 guys every week buying in, thinking they got hope. To me, there's a lot of good coaches out there. A lot of guys have great playbooks, great minds. But to me, man, the people that can get you psychologically to buy in and believe every week and to play hard, to me, that's really coaching and managing people. And this staff's done a good job of it. Like I said, if I were to ask you back in August, Alan, what do you think, how many wins do you think Purdue will have? Maybe would have said 7.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I thought this was a 6 to 7 win team.
Yeah.
Well, they're still not that far off.
Yeah.
And I know this weekend's a big challenge, but then you got IU at home in the finale. And, or if you could go at least 5 and 7 and keep the bucket at home, to me, that would be a big success.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that the game against Indiana next week, and again, Purdue's got its shot tomorrow. It will have a chance to pull the big upset. Things will have to roll almost perfectly for Purdue from that standpoint. Okay, we're going to take a 2-minute break. We're going to send Tom up to Madison. It'll take him about 5 hours, but he's going to get there in good stead and be there in time for college football tomorrow afternoon. Purdue 4 o'clock. On Fox tomorrow afternoon. The Boilermakers take on Wisconsin. But Brian and I will chew up segment 2 and look forward to doing that in a couple of minutes on Gold and Black Live.